And for me, dealing with adversity just kind of comes easy. I guess I'm used to it. My wife, she's born and raised in the United States. She was not fed with a silver spoon, but definitely lived nothing close to what I've been through, which was hyperinflation, civil war, complete mess. I'm going to try to keep it PG as much as possible on your channel. Nobody can say that somebody who likes to prep now is a crazy person when we had shortages of toilet paper in the United States of America not long ago. I
Mhm.
already lived through that mess. I lived through socialism slash communism as a teenager, as I'm sure you can tell by my accent. I'm not from United States. So I've seen the writing on the wall. And once I started having kids, I decided it is time to shield my family to get away from the cities because I've seen it firsthand what happens. And like I said, again, I see what is going on in the Western world overall. And I just wanted to build that arc of safety for my family due to my experience. And I always look at it as actually a really good experience. We sent in the paperwork and I drove my wife all the way to Arkansas. We saw the place. I loved it. We closed the deal just like that. And I've been loving it. I would not
Wow.
change it for anything. So we're now based out here in Arkansas. It's a family owned farm. It's a ranch because we are not much into gardening. It's basically cattle, meat birds. We got egg layers. We've got turkeys, goats, horses. It is definitely more a ranch, but we call it Independence Ark Farm. We kind of made it an ark of safety for our families.
Hello, everyone. Adam with Carnivore Today. We're so thankful that we have a very special guest today, Marko Babac. So, Marko, for those that don't know about you, can you kind of introduce yourself a little bit?
So we're now based out here in Arkansas. It's a family owned farm. It's a ranch, I guess, because we are not much into gardening. It's basically cattle, meat birds. We got egg layers. We've got turkeys, goats, horses. I mean, it is definitely more a ranch, but we call it Independence Ark Farm. And we are Independence County in Arkansas. That's why I call it Independence. And then, Arkansas Ark, we kind of made it like an ark of safety for our family. So it's got, I think, a really cool name that we came up with. And we made like a little, like a ship or a boat, whatever, like the ark as our logo. And we are, like I said, in Arkansas. So I think it all fits in pretty nicely. And that's kind of like, in a nutshell, real quick where we're at.
That's awesome. You started your farm not too long ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, it actually started in September of 2020, basically when all the madness was going on with the health event. So I decided we were in Florida at the time, and I decided to make a move just out of the madness because Florida, a lot of people may not know, it was not just 2 weeks lockdowns. We were right on the beach. They were locking beach entrances. It was just not as presented as a lot of people think. Of course, it wasn't as long as crazy as California or New York, but nonetheless, I did not like any of that. We were paying a lot of money where we were at, and I believe our freedom was being stomped on. So we decided to make a move out in the country. I always wanted some land, and it was not easy by any means because my wife ended up losing her job when everything happened, and we just transferred from a different state. We ended up going to Florida, and all of that happened within the first year. I left my job because she had a dream situation set up. We were right on the beach where the business was, and everything was shut down. We had little kids and all that, so it was not an easy decision by any means. But we decided to make that move, and within 48 hours, we found the property. And this is when nobody was buying; everything was cheap. I've never been to Arkansas in my life before, and I thought it was kind of, again, a pretty interesting story that's how it all just fit in. And I called the real estate agent, and I think she couldn't even believe that I was actually thinking of buying the property when nobody was buying anything. And I said, listen, here's the offer. I even lowballed it. And can you give me 24 hours to physically see the place if you guys accept it? And she said, no problem. You got 24 hours. We send in the paperwork, and I took the kids all the way from Florida to Alabama, where my in-laws are. We spent the night. I drove my wife all the way to Arkansas, which was 5.5 hours. We saw the place. I loved it. And we closed the deal just like that. And I've been loving it. I would not
Wow.
change it for anything. Yeah, it is. I mean, I lived in Las Vegas. I played poker full time for a living. I basically lived on Las Vegas Strip. I lived in the high rise downtown Chicago before Vegas. I mean, you can't go any more extreme than what I'm doing, from the city to the desert to Gulf Shores. I mean, not Gulf Shores, Gulf of Mexico in Florida. It was close to St. Pete's, and then ended up in the farmland, ranch land here in the literally middle of nowhere. I mean, I am as far from any city you can imagine. The closest one is, I guess, 15 minutes away, but it's small. But any major city like Little Rock is almost 2 hours drive from me, is kind of what I'm trying to say. So once you exit off the main expressway, whatever highway, it's kind of cornfields drive for a while before you get to my place. And that's what I wanted. So that was the plan.
Wow. Okay. So you picked up and moved, and you moved out in the middle of nowhere. What were some of the first challenges that you ran into?
Well, it was a lot. Okay, it was a lot, and I'm hoping some of your listeners get a lot out of this interview, as I believe that we are, and we have been in the crazy, I guess you can call it reset, societal, spiritual. I know it sounds all like conspiracy theories, but we all know what happened with the health event. That a lot of conspiracy theories did come, became true basically in a week or the next day. So nobody can say that somebody who likes to prep now is a crazy person, when we had shortages of toilet paper in the United States of America not long ago. So I
Hmm.
already lived through that mess. I lived through socialism slash communism as a teenager. As I'm sure you can tell by my accent, I'm not from United States. So I've seen the writing on the wall. And once I started having kids, I decided it is time to shield my family, to get away from the cities, because I've seen it firsthand what happens. And like I said, again, I see what is going on in the Western world overall. And I just wanted to build that arc of safety for my family due to my experience. And I always look at it as actually a really good experience, because if I didn't live through that, I would not know. And I would still live maybe in Las Vegas with, several children. So that was an easy decision for me, actually, when I saw what was going on. And this is prior to the health events.
Okay. So you mentioned that you're not from United States. Where are you exactly from?
So I'm from ex-Yugoslavia territory. I'm from the Dalmatian coast in Croatia. So that's why Florida for me was also a dream spot in a way, because it reminded me, being back home and all that, being out, and that was the sea, this was the ocean, whatever, Gulf of Mexico, not the ocean, but you get the idea.
Mhm.
Body of water. It kind of felt like back home, but that was just not meant to be. I believe everything happens for a reason, and September 2020 was a very easy decision for me to make, but not easy to execute by any means.
Right. Wow. That's quite the story. So once you're on this homestead, what made you decide to actually start an actual ranch, cattle ranch?
So I was hoping you lead me into that question, because I know a lot of people that are listening to this are going to ask the same thing. So how come this guy that comes from Europe and has never been to Arkansas all of a sudden has a ranch, and it's got direct to consumer cattle, a business, farm to table business? It basically, what we did is we started with electric fence, and my wife always wanted to have a horse. So once we settled in a little bit, by the way, we had no jobs at all. We just took leap of faith. I figured, you know what? I don't have any overhead where I'm at. We have a lot of land. The house was whatever, 16, 1700 square feet. I've seen potential, what I can expand on, what I can, which right now we're doing the renovation still. I said, you know what, we can work with this once we get things going. We did have about 6 months of savings, for those that think maybe I was sitting on some millions and millions of dollars and it was just an easy decision. No, it wasn't. I had 6 months of median income basically put aside, maybe a little more, possibly eight if you stretch it. And that was it. So I said, if I can't find a job to pay $1,200 mortgage instead of 5,000 like it was in Florida, then you can stick a fork in me at that point. So I said, you know what, pack up and go, and we'll figure it out. And for me, dealing with adversity just kind of comes easy. I guess I'm used to it. My wife, she's born and raised in the United States. She was not fed with a silver spoon, but definitely lived nothing close to what I've been through, which was hyperinflation, civil war, complete mess. I'm going to try to keep it PG as much as possible on your channel. So if I go off the rails, just stop me. So that was kind of how it started. We started with electric fence. I said, she wanted a horse. We said, okay, we got the horse. I said, let's get some cattle, at least 2, for us to start to have I wanted to have my own access to food, because we're like, I believe, dealing with really bad players that are running the show. I call them the suits. And again, I'm trying to keep it as PG as possible. So basically, I don't trust anybody in government, left, right, I don't trust anybody. I just trust my own instincts, and I believe everybody should do the same. They have to be as self-sufficient as possible, whatever that is. Even with a little garden in the back, if you have to learn how to grow a little plant or something, I think it's important. So we got our connection, which is not easy, by the way. If you go through Facebook, through what is it called, marketplace, it's not easy just to buy cattle. They make it very complicated. It's easy to go to the store and buy all that processed junk. That's no problem. But if you want to buy something real, good luck, right? But we got a contact, and with my European accent, and this guy is even more further in the woods than I am, I really didn't understand the word he was saying. He had a serious country accent. It was kind of funny, actually. And I said, I just need 2 cows, man. 2 cows. Can you bring me 2 cows? He was telling me the cost. I said, no problem. Just bring me 2 cows. And then, he brings 9. So this is where it gets kind of funny, I think. And he said his driver was close to 90 years old, I believe. And I was talking to the owner. I guess that was the owner. And he said, yeah, I sent you 9. I said, well, I wanted 2. He says, well, you get to pick which 2 you like. I said, oh, this is great. Not that I know much, but I'm not going to pick the cow that has, an eye that looks like this. So I wanted a nice, hefty looking, a yearling, a cow that's, a year old or maybe a little less, and it can grow in my pasture, whatever. They were kind of nice size, but there was no way I can get the 2 out of the trailer. And the old man could not help me because he's, like I said, 90 years old. Could have been 85. I might be off by a couple of years, but he was old. So he was just sitting there. Again, I couldn't understand a word he was saying either, because he's definitely more deep in the country more than I am. So my wife showed up, so she helped me with that a little bit. So I said, okay, I can't get the 2 cows that I really wanted. So what do I do now? I said, I did not want to buy 9 cows. I was not set up for 9 cows. I have land. We have 40 acres, but not all of it is pasture land. And I didn't have that much of the fence set up yet. And I had said, you know what, maybe this guy will give me a deal, because I don't want him to drive. He came from like 2 hours away, or maybe even more. I forget now. I said, maybe I said, listen, can you just give me $50 off of each cow and I'll buy all 9? Because obviously that was his trick from the beginning. And
Right.
I didn't care at that point. I just needed to have some cows. I believe that I needed to have, our own food. And I know it's not easy to find, even in the state of Arkansas, in the beef country. It's not easy just to connect with ranchers, farmers. It's kind of a small, tight community that people kind of have to know you and all that. And you gotta know who to talk to and all that, right? So he first says, no, no, no. I said, well, there's nothing I can do. I can't get the cows out. So your driver can't help me. I'm sorry. I can't buy them for that price. I was not ready for that. He calls me back or whatever, 5 minutes later, says, okay, fine. You can have all of them for that much. So we just kind of hit one side of the trailer and make it really loud. And, the herd mentality, they all came out at the same time. And I ended up with 9 cows. So I had them
Wow.
in the electric fence. I expanded the electric fence. My wife, she's the MBA. She's the brain behind everything. I'm more of a crazy guy, as you can tell. And she was doing all the research with what to do with them. And Said, okay, well, we got 9 cows. So it was time when they got big to take them to the butcher. I did not have a truck at the time. I did not have a trailer. I did not have anything. So I just connected with some veterans that were helping out at the ranch that would pay them cash. I'm big supporters of veterans, by the way. And they had the truck. So they show up. I somehow figure out how to catch a couple of cows in the trailer, shut the door. They come in and we take them. And then family and friends started to get some of our cows and they really loved it. And I was like, you know what? There is something here. There is something here. Maybe we can expand. And, all the research and tryouts and failures within the first 2 years, which is not too long, but we were able to get the main fence going. I got these guys started. I was still using up those 6 months of savings we've had, but it was really running out. And now it was getting to the point. I was just trying to get some, minimum wage job, I guess. But I was not afraid of any of that because, I don't mind walking. I can walk out right now and go on the range and start practicing targets. Nobody cares. There is just,
Right.
that's what I wanted. So I was already happy and I knew I can come up with enough money to pay for my property. And everything is cheaper here, from gas to everything, diesel, of course, everything is cheaper out here. So I wasn't worried. And all of a sudden, things started to kind of change, and we got involved on Twitter at the time before it turned into X. We sent out some samples to some people. They started posting about it. Family, friends, word of mouth. I mean, it just kind of took off, and now we were even shipping to Canada. I mean, it is just wild, cool, I believe, story. And hopefully it gives a lot of people a little bit of, I guess, confidence, enthusiasm, maybe to do something to get away from the city lifestyle if possible, especially if, somebody's working from home. If you can get internet, I mean, I'm
Mhm.
getting internet here. It may not be great. I don't know if you can see me and hear me great, but we're able to figure it out. I'm sure a lot of people can as well. So now you know the whole story almost the whole story.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So, how many cattle do you have now?
We run about 10 all the time. And then once those 10 get going, or at least five, once the 5 or 6 go in, then we have another maybe 5 or 6 that are about a year old. And then we keep them for about a year. But now, since we're selling so much, we have a connection with the auction, which is 5 minutes, 10 minutes, not even drive from our ranch. And I have a very good connection because everybody knows us because I've been going to the cattle auction houses and everybody around here has heard of Independence Ark. So I know these guys, they have them on grass. They're basically in almost my backyard. They just have property behind us or two, I guess 2 blocks away. And if I need more
Mhm.
cows, instead of going to the auction, I can just give them a call and we strike a deal and take them in and go from there. So I have connections now. I was able to meet some great real cowboys, real men, real patriots out here in Arkansas, veterans, and it's been great.
That's awesome. Yeah, my next question was to ask you where you actually source your cows, but it sounds like they're pretty close.
Yeah, the 10 minutes away, livestock exchange in what is it called? Charlotte, Arkansas. I believe it's Charlotte. It's a small little town, even smaller than ours, 10 minutes. And yeah, it is Charlotte, Arkansas. A livestock exchange. Jeremy's the main man out there, and I was fortunate, blessed enough to meet him, and we were able to strike a deal. So I know exactly where the cows are coming from, especially, of course, if they are directly off my front yard or the backyard too. So that's how we do it out here in a nutshell.
That's really handy. You don't have to truck them around and go through all that. That's awesome.
Yeah, sometimes we still do, but a lot of times it's very easy. The first 2 years was tough. I mean, you don't know anybody, and we were not that busy anyway. So we can have these cows out here for like a whole year. You just watch them graze, and when they're ready, you go, and then you're hoping you can sell it. But at the same time, as I said, I'm hoping I can sell them. I really enjoyed it so much when you have your own food that I said, you know what? If I can't sell this beef, I'm just going to store it. Like I'm going to eat it myself. And we got a pretty big family. So it was kind of like a no-brainer win-win situation. Like if you get stuck with a lot of steaks, I mean, is are you going to complain?
I'm not.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, so it's no big deal. So now our 2.5 car garage has turned into a shipping facility. So we have all the boxes and insulation, and all of that is done out of the garage. We got to deal with the UPS. They just show up Mondays and Tuesdays when we ship out. And
Mhm.
then they take them in. I help them out if I'm home, put like 10, 15, 20 boxes, whatever, 30 boxes a day when we are shipping out. So our garage has turned into a shipping facility. And the way things are going, and the way, honestly, the way I have connections with the real people here, real cowboys, I believe we're going to have our own warehouse soon, and it's not going to be just me and my wife packing and doing all the counting orders. I think this could potentially turn into one of the biggest direct to consumer companies in the country.
Yeah, I love that. And just to disclose for everyone, Marco did send me some samples. I got those today, Marco. So thank you so much. And I appreciate that. And I've got some video content coming for that stuff. I've actually already ate your meat through Mimi Morgan. She had the beef shanks and prepared that for us when Carrie and I went and filmed her for the documentary Healing Humanity. So yeah, the beef was absolutely delicious, and I can't wait to dig into this stuff and show everyone, just the quality of the meat. And I'm excited to share that.
Oh, I hope. I would suggest when you get into that ground beef, just make the hamburger nice and thick, and make it pink in the middle. A lot of people make them smash burgers, and they put so much salt in it, they overcook it, and it's still delicious. Don't get me wrong, but if you make it, because you know how fresh it is, it was literally picked up from the butcher right before I sent it to you. Because we go through about 1,500 pounds of actual cuts pretty quickly within 2 weeks. And I post all of that on Twitter when I'm actually on my way to the butcher. And then they can see the boxes in my big SUV, and then the unboxing, and then pictures, videos with me in it, not some random pictures. So that is as fresh as it gets. So I like to make those hamburgers without anything. I just put a little salt on it, maybe a little pepper, no bread, no nothing, and just dig in. And then let me know how that feels, because that's where you'll really see, I believe, the freshness and the real meat. That would be my suggestion.
I'm definitely going to do that for sure. And I
Yeah,
can't
and,
wait.
and yes, and let us know. Hopefully the packing was good. We don't ship over the summer because we had issues with UPS, kind of like putting the boxes on the side. It's 110 degrees, 105 degrees across the country. The insulation we use is basically top notch. It's kind of like you have your sheetrock, and what goes, that padding right after the sheetrock. I'm sure there is a name for it. I forget now.
Mhm.
So we use that. We use dry ice. We were using in the summer. Now we just went with ice packs, and we stopped shipping for the summer because of the loss. You don't want people open the box and you have the meat that starts to thaw, even though it's still very
Mhm.
cold. They're going to freak out. So we try to avoid summer and maybe even September, and really ramp up October, November, December, January, February, March, April, including May, and then take orders. Not that you can't place an order, but we would not be shipping for those really hot months, because a lot of people may not be aware we are not, Butcher Box or Walmart that's sitting on hundreds of millions of billions dollars in this case, that can have something shipped like that overnight, or have $100 box that everything can stay cold for like a week. So there is no way. You're
Right.
looking at 100% difference in price, because we include free shipping. Our company does free shipping. So whatever you pay when you place an order, you're not paying anything more. If your order costs $169, that's what it's going to cost, unless it's a special order. That's different, because some people want like one hanger steak, one tri-tip, and you got to dig through the freezers and count it out. And that's a different subject. That's when the shipping, I suggest, if anyone is looking, the bundles are the way to go, because they are cheaper, and then we pay for your shipping. So we're trying to, like I said, to scale out with profits to stay in business, basically. If we were shipping overnight, we would not stay in business. So we've had not many, like honestly, I would say maybe 2%, 1% of people that called us and said, "Hey, listen, it started to thaw out. It was very cold." Said, "No problem, send them a new one. No big deal." They reordered right away because they love the meat. But for those, like I said, that are not aware, if the box costs us $80 to send to Arizona from Arkansas for 20 pounds of beef, it is going to cost 40 to send 2 days versus it's actually 80 for 2 days. So if I go
Wow.
3 days, it would be, I don't even know what one day is. I'm afraid to look because you can just do the quick math. There is no way we can stay in business if we would do that. So that's why we
Hmm.
had some people asking, why are you not shipping in the summer? I said, no, we're not set up for that. Maybe one day we will. But I just know that guarantee of the freshness and how quality this meat is nothing comparable. I just don't know if there is anything out there. I know there are some other companies, but you got to be subscribed with monthly, uh, uh, like Butcher Box. You pay them, let's say, whatever it is, $100 per month, $200 per month. We don't have any of those uh, deals going like that. It's basically you place an order if you want. If you don't want to, you don't have to, and we take care of the shipping unless it's a special order.
Yeah, I love that, and that's a big deal. For anyone who's listening, that's shipping is not cheap whatsoever. So to have it actually included in the price, I mean, that's a really good deal.
Yeah, I think it is. We've been comparable to Butcher Box. We were just kind of analyzing what they're doing, and we just decided you don't have to be a monthly subscriber, meaning like you are paying us. You can save if somebody really likes the meat, like to the point like I gotta get it every couple of weeks. We got people that are. I guess I'm not going to say if they really like the meat. It's mostly those that are carnivore that are going to be, I need that many pounds per week or per month. And if I save 5% on making sure you send it to me every week or every month, I'll just do that. So we have those, but that's not many. Most people just finish their 50-pound bundle, which includes, steaks, brisket, short ribs, tri-tips, sirloin steak, filet, tenderloin filet. I mean, you got it all. Of course, ground beef is always going to be the bulk of it, roughly half, because half of the cow is ground beef. So for those that order
Mhm.
100 pounds, it's going to be about 40 pounds or so of ground beef. And then the rest of roughly 60 pounds is going to be a mixture of steaks and all that. And we send out an email to people with a cut sheet, it's called. They look it over, they agree on it, and then we send it out. And we don't send one box of 100 pounds. We kind of spread it out just in case there is an issue. So it would be, maybe even 3 boxes that come in just in case one gets lost. We don't have to worry about
Yeah.
it because those are all big, big, big deals. I mean, you look at 1 pound of tenderloin filet is now selling in some Whole Foods close to $40, like $39 a pound. So it is, we're roughly around, I think 32 or 31 a pound for filet. And I believe it is the best filet I've ever had. Nobody that ordered filet have ever had any complaints. They just order more. They just don't order much. They order like 2 pounds, or something like that.
Right.
Mostly, typical your ribeyes and ground beef. Brisket has been very popular. Short ribs. It's got a lot of good fat. And what I mean by good fat is you'll see the tone of the color on the fat. It's not like plastic screaming white color, is yellowish. It's got that grass-fed tone to it, right? So that's the
Mhm.
one. And I like to flip it on the side, on the corner. I've seen Kerry Kelly's doing that as well. I mean, Kerry Kelly, he's one of the big carnivores. He was Kerry Man that flips it
Right.
on the side. Shout out to both of those guys if they watch this, Kerry Kelly and Kerry Man. They flip it
Yep.
to the side, and then you burn the char, the fats. Because I eat all the fat all the time. My wife, we all indulge in it like it is. It's just it goes easy, and nobody's fat around here, and we eat fat all day long. Explain that to somebody, right?
Right. Yeah, that's how I lost my
Crazy.
80 pounds of fat was, eating fat, so, yeah, it's, definitely not it does my body good, let's put it that way.
Yeah, everybody could possibly have a different reaction. We understand everybody's bodies is different. We all react on certain foods differently. But yeah, for those that are really looking like grass fed and taking too lean and all that, yeah, if the cows is skinny. We got a lot of rain this year out here. The cows are fat. I believe the steaks look good. There is marbling on it. Like I said, because it's the fat cow and young. That's the key. When they're young,
Mhm.
maybe 30 months at the most, roughly 28 months is when we take them in, 26 months. So you want the meat to be fresh and you want to have some marbling, even though it's grass fed and finished. And so this is why the carnivores get, I believe, a little off track sometimes. They keep ordering certain things, they're skipping, they're not understanding that when it comes to grass fed, you can order brisket, you can order short ribs. There is so much fat on the brisket. It's amazing. It's just not easy to make. But once you get into this beef stuff and you start understanding the versatility just of ground beef, how many different meals you can make, or what can be done with brisket or short ribs, or just simply put it in the crock pot and just wait a few hours and just
Mm.
enjoy, or shanks, like you had beef shanks. A lot of people never even heard of that. It is one of the most delicious meals. We're actually cooking one right now in the Dutch oven, which is an arm roast and beef shank. And it's going to be, we're making a beef pie. It is not 100% carnivore because there is some veggies in it, but it's going to
Right.
be, yeah, if for those that are on X, we are Independence Ark, and I'm very active on X. I post a lot of stuff out there. So
Nice. Yeah, I love that you brought up the fact that it's grass-finished beef, so, in this carnivore space, some folks are very interested in, what the animal was fed, because some people have like, for instance, if a cow was fed grains or soybeans, that person is so sensitive to those things that it actually causes a reaction in their body, so let's kinda dive into what your cows live on and how they're finished, and, yeah, let's talk about that.
okay, so it's basically grass all day long. We don't finish them on grain. It would be actually too expensive. Some people say it may taste better. I would agree if the cow was skinny, grass fed and finished. Other than that, no, I don't think it does at all. And you'll see yourself when you eat it. In the wintertime, that people are wondering, it is hay, which is basically grass that's rolled up in a big giant coil looking like, and they are nibbling on that all day long. When we got grass covered with snow, with I don't know, 2 3 weeks out of the out of the summer, out of the winter is what we get bad weather where I'm at out here in Northeast Arkansas. So so not bad at all. We don't have to get too much hay, and I source the hay from the same guys that I connected with, that are local cowboys out here. So I know exactly where that hay comes from. So I don't give them anything. I used to give them like a little bit of it's called a sweet feed, whatever. It's just to trick them to go to a different pasture. You kind of shake the bag, and then I
Mhm.
realized I don't even need to do that. I can just bring the empty bag and shake it, and they would follow me, and then you just continue grazing. And before we finish today, I can even go straight out. I can take the phone off my stand here, and I can, just walk out and show you. It's right outside the door. I mean, it is pretty cool to see cows and horses graze, and we have our goats also are free range as well. When I say free range, they don't even have a fence. They're like actual free range, and they are still here.
Wow.
They go far. We got 40 acres, but they come back. Turkeys are free range. They're not in any this what is it called, enclosed, closed off space place. Chickens as well. So yeah, we don't feed them anything. And the same thing with the cows. If I run out of cows from my front or backyard or the side yard, I go to Jeremy and he knows exactly what I need. And that's the cow. It's going to do the same thing. She is outside eating either hay or grass, which is the same thing.
That's awesome. It seems like it's getting more and more rare to find that these days because the challenges that ranchers face, right? It
It
seems like
is.
there's not as many ranchers as there used to be.
Yeah, it is actually. I think it was White Oak Pastures or something like that. They posted on X about. It was on Joe Rogan's show. 85, one of the ranchers. 85% of grass-fed beef in United States comes from different countries. New Zealand, Brazil, you name it. And nobody knows what these cows actually ate, especially with the transportations from that far. They might be feeding them Skittles for what we know. This is, again, not a conspiracy theory. It is happening. These USD, the labels that you see, Prime Beef USA, a lot of that is not from this country. It's where they packed it. So only 15% of grass-fed beef, which is when you really think about it, to make it simple, cows are supposed to graze. They will eat cupcakes if you give them cupcakes, just like you will eat a cupcake if you did not know any better or you had no discipline. You would want to eat cupcakes all day long or ice cream, or they will eat that, but they're supposed to eat grass. And the way the grass is processed through their stomachs, it's not one stomach. The way that it's processed, they're supposed to eat grass. They're supposed to graze. So it is as simple as that. Many people can say they can eat corn, they can eat this, and yes, they will eat all of it. They're called the feedlots. So what happens in the major food industries, like let's say, and I don't want to name any of them because I don't want to be putting names out there for it. This is just if people just simply do the typical basic research. Major companies have cows in what it's called feedlots. So the cow's head is forward where she can't move, and her butt is back in kind of like really not super tight, but tight place where she can barely move, right? So she can basically do her business from behind when she's got to, pee or whatever. But her
Mhm.
head is forward, and they're feeding them whatever to fatten them up. Because the quicker you fatten up the cow, the quicker the turnaround it is for your money. Because on the grass, you can't have a cow that quickly. It might be 3 years, 2 years. That's why I was saying 28 months roughly for the cow to be the size where those steaks are actually going to taste good, or otherwise it's going to taste like shit. Excuse my language. So it is.
Right.
It's just the way it is. So that's why it's important to have. We got so lucky to have connection with someone who has 5 cows right now grazing. I can go visit them right now and getting big while I'm having mine on the front yard instead of getting caught with no cows, because that's when you go into, well, they got to go on grain or whatever else, Skittles, like I mentioned, or
Mhm.
just to fatten them up so they can go quickly into the slaughter because of the cash turnaround. So it's not easy to grass feed cows. It takes long. It's a procedure. They taste really good if they're taken care of the right way, if they have a good life while, of course, living out here. They're supposed to be
Mhm.
relaxed. They're supposed to, right now when we walk outside, they might be sleeping, on the grass. They're just soaking up the sun, enjoying life. They're not under any stress. And this is where the meat can taste maybe gamey. This is where some people might say that, which is complete nonsense. Unless the cow was not treated right and the hay was sourced from who knows what field, and it was not good grass. There is different types of grass. I believe in Arkansas we have, I call it magical grass. I know other people now from Texas will hate on me, but I just don't think you'll see when you taste it. And I would love to know your honest opinion. I just don't see we have any competition, to be honest with you, when it comes to taste. It took me a while to figure out. When I say a while, time wise, maybe not as much, but many cows going through and not knowing, like, is it I got a bull, right? It's a really big, but well, bulls are very masculine. There is a lot of muscle tissue. So guess what? The steaks did not taste good at all. I had a lot of
Mm.
meat, but it was not tender. And I was
Right.
like, you know what? I can't even sell this. So I had several freezers, 7 cubic foot, which is 200 pounds of actual cuts. I had of steaks because I was like, you know what? This is not even good steak. And I thought I hit a jackpot with a bull that I have for 2,000 pound bull. So these are
Wow.
the things you learn as you go. So you want to have them younger. And for those that are out there listening that are possibly trying to have their own cow, which I suggest you do, especially if you, of course, have a little bit of pasture land, which is, of course, key. And you want to go with a younger cow when it goes into slaughter, not old, the one that hasn't calved, that hasn't had babies. And I would stick with steer, meaning they've been chopped off, and heifers, meaning ladies, nice hefty heifers. So that's where you're going to have, but good luck raising them. You got to wait. You got to wait, and you got to have a lot of land. You got to have connections. But if you're not on a time restraint, if you're just having 2 acres of land and you have one cow and you can switch off, maybe you do 1 acre, block it off, let her graze, uh, put the electric fence of the other one so she doesn't overgraze, because then you won't get the grass come back. So we have several lots that we go, it's called rotational grazing. So we're not overgrazed because we want that grass to come back, because then it's
It-
nonstop cash flow, basically.
right.
It's
Yeah, that's awesome.
you,
And it just
you see what I
it
mean?
grows naturally.
Yes, and I learned all that through my wonderful wife that did all that research. Because I only read stuff that I'm really interested in. And at the time, I was very interested in having my own food, but I knew she was going to do all that research herself. And then once I tried the meat for the first time, it was ground beef, right? I had the first hamburger. I was hooked. And that's kind of how my personality is. Once I get hooked on something, then I really just go all in, with research and everything else. And I have nothing but passion for this business to grow, not only because it's great for our family, of course, let's not beat it around the bush here, but also the
Mm.
health benefits for us and other people. And I just find it, I like to negotiate with these cowboys. I feel like I'm playing poker in Vegas again. I love all about it. I love watching them graze without even me doing anything. I mean, we got the pond, we got everything. Sometimes I got to fill up the water a little bit. That's it. They just stay there and eat. You watch them eat all day long.
Wow, that sounds relaxing and peaceful.
That's the two words that I would say what it is. It's especially early morning, like 5, 6 a.m., and you hear birds out, or eagles, hawks, whatever, buzzards. I got a dog, Great Pyrenees, that watches over our livestock, that showed up on accident, and we kept him. It was just another cool story with him. And I would have to spend at least 1 minute talking about Great Pyrenees, because if somebody is listening to this and wants to get involved with chickens, at least, or turkeys, maybe they don't have enough land for cows. First off, you cannot have HOA. That is a big no. Do not have HOA. HOA is it's basically communist regime. It's nonsense. Stay away from HOA. That's number one. And I know none of this is easy. You gotta look around. Nothing good comes easy. So no HOA, and look into like I said, Great Pyrenees are only outdoor dogs. And once you train them the perimeter, you give them your little chicks to smell, and they'll protect them all day, all night. Like right now, we don't even lock up chickens, goats, nobody. They put themselves up. We were just out of town for a college game. We were in Alabama for the weekend. They were playing Missouri. And we did not have anyone here on property except for Bluey, which is the Great Pyrenees. And we came back, not an issue. We just had extra water and food, and he's not fenced in or anything. He can go anywhere. He did not. And sometimes I hear him bark at 3 a.m. far deep in the woods. I mean, it is intimidating to hear them bark. So we don't know what predator he killed, or what he does with them. But there is nothing coming out here, because I'm in the middle of the woods, and the stuff I've seen at night before Bluey showed up is pretty pretty wild. I mean, I've heard all about it, but when you actually see it with your own eyes, and I got all these sensor lights on property, I got all that set up because like I said, I'm a little crazy in case zombies come or something. Um, I got lights that go and you'll be twitching and I'll have a shotgun already ready to go. So before all that, yeah, it would these lights would be twitching. All of a sudden, I got the possum that was stuck in the outdoor chicken coop, the metal one that he dug underneath. I didn't even realize that they can just go underneath. So if you don't have a concrete floor, but if you got Great Pyrenees, you don't have to worry about it. So he's a great asset. You got to look into stay away from liabilities and work on having assets. Like having cows is an asset because it's food. Having pasture land is way more than asset because you can have wild turkeys. Sometimes they got certain things that grow on the grass that wild turkeys love and they just show up. You think out here anybody cares if you had 10 turkeys that you just started processing yourself in the backyard? No. So having that, like having a dog that's an asset instead of liability just in the house. And I love dogs, but I don't want dogs in the house anymore. If you can't take care of yourself outside, you're a liability. You got to be an asset. So you stick with those simple rules. Do not name your animals because they have to go, obviously not horses and egg layers, chickens, but meat birds, turkeys, cattle. They're going to go when the time is. So don't name them because especially your wife could freak out. That's what happened to me here the first year. So yeah, try to stay away from names and make sure you stick with stay away from liabilities and stick with assets with your animals, and everything is a lot easier because, like I said, 2 to 3 days gone without even being on property with dog watching over your livestock, and you don't have to even lock the doors or anything, and not one is missing when you come back. It's pretty remarkable. I mean, not a soul was here human wise.
That dog deserves a medal.
Yeah, yeah, and again, just in case somebody was thinking of doing something similar to what I'm doing, and I hope people are doing so or planning on doing so, that would be a couple of little things that are actually big that can help you out because you'll have those chickens disappear so quickly you won't even know what took them.
That's interesting. I don't think personally I could name cattle if I had them. If I named them, I wouldn't be able to bring them to the slaughterhouse. So that's a good tip.
Yes, yes. It's those little things, like I said, they can be pretty big, and you just realize, you know what? That's just the way it is. It's these cows, if they're not on this land like this, they can't just be in the woods. They would just get literally eaten alive. It's you got to take care of them. You got to give them the best life while they're out here, and that's just the way it is. I know a lot of people out there, especially when it comes to a vegan community and all that, is not looking at that like this. But I would um, suggest some people go in the woods and try to spend the night, couple of nights, and tell me how animals treat themselves at night. It's pretty, yeah. It is just the circle of life, cycle of life. It's the
Mhm.
way it is. But people can do whatever they want. I'm not against any vegans by any means. If they want to eat broccoli, they can eat broccoli. I prefer steak that I raise.
I'm right there with you. So what breed of cattle do you actually raise?
I would say for the most part, 95% of the time is Black Angus.
Okay.
We got sometimes, I don't even know their names, like what the breed, whatever you call it. They had a
Mhm.
couple of white ones. They have an interesting name, American something. We had a couple of those, but for the most part, like I said, 95% of the time it is Black Angus. And I'm trying to stick with mostly heifers, meaning ladies, not bulls. I'm done with that. Like I said, I just want to stick with what works and go from there. If we have a drought, I got connection for hay, then it's just a lot more expensive. That's a big expense, by the way. Hay bale can be $100 if you got drought just for one, and one cow can go through that in 2 days. So
Wow.
these are all the things that people don't understand what it takes to do what we're doing. Then you got issues with frozen pipes and frozen whatever to get them water in the middle of the winter. We do have freezing temperatures here. Like I said, it's not terrible. It's not Montana, It's not Indiana, it's not Illinois, it's not Wisconsin, but it can be 2 to 3 weeks, which is below zero. So you got to
Mhm.
make sure you have all of that figured out. Out there with a hammer, breaking the ice and making sure they get water and all that. So try to find a place that's not cold 6 months out of the year. I would suggest down south is like Alabama, Tennessee is a pretty good option. It's maybe a little bit more expensive, of course, like Mississippi, maybe stuff like that. These I call them not sexy states where nobody talks about. That's kind of where you want to look into. Arkansas, of course. Let's not forget Arkansas.
For those that are looking to be more self-sustaining, be the captain of their own ship, maybe raise some of their own meat, what are some maybe beginner pointers you could give them?
I would say start small. Don't go big like I did with 9 cows, but you know my story, how that happened. It was just not planned. And make sure you do a lot of reading about how to, make raising beds for the garden, whatever it is. That's going to help 50%. The other 50% comes from just trial and error. You can read all you want, but until you're out here, like for instance, we've never heard you need Great Pyrenees on property to make your life 1,000% easier. Like I did not know that. It just happened. I've never read anywhere that, I mean, bulls are not going to taste that good. Maybe I just hit a couple of that were really strong, masculine. That I don't know. You know what I mean? Like there is
Mhm.
certain things you don't read anywhere. You just go with the flow. Like I've never read anywhere when you get baby chicks, you keep them in the garage in the big closed in space with red lights to keep them warm. That I read about red light keeping them warm. But I'm like, okay, first garage, then when they get to a certain size, which is let's say 3 weeks, they get big pretty quickly, like triple the size, if not quadruple. Then they can go in the outdoor chicken coop that's metal, closed off, unless you got, again, Great Pyrenees. Otherwise, they get snatched by birds or who knows what, right? And then they can go, I call it general population. They're ready to go out with other flock. So these are the little things that they can help. Like you have these steps that you kind of learn on the fly. You're like, well, what do we do with these turkeys? They're kind of big. They don't like it in this place anymore. Well, they can go right here where the garden is. It's about 30 times size, but they're still not really in an open space yet, like free ranging, because they're not ready yet. They can just get picked up by whatever fox. It can be anything, right? So these
Mhm.
are the things that they can help. But again, I'm going to repeat, and I'm done repeating it. If you have the right asset on your property, like a real good livestock dog, all your headaches are gone for that part. Because this is a big deal. Because you know how long it takes the procedure watching the chicken when she gets, let's say chicken when she gets broody, she sits on the egg, right? And it can be, I had a pickup truck that was old that had a broken window. She got inside. I didn't even realize because my transmission went out. And one day I looked because I was going to start looking into it if I'm going to sell it or whatever, start fixing it. And I found the chicken sitting on the egg, right? So they're doing that for 3 weeks. They don't want anything. You even put water in front of them. I don't know how they survive. It's crazy. Like I would find the same amount of food in front of her, like they would not touch it. They sit on that egg, and then that egg, hatches, and then you got to get that. She has to protect it, or you can pick up a little chick and put her under that red light. And the odds of that surviving right here on the farm obviously is not that great. And we had many that made it too. And all of that work for a mom chick to what you're doing, and then the baby chick to survive, and then she has to go, and all of a sudden you put her outside, and some fox snatches her within 2 seconds, and all that work and money was spent on feed and everything, and this and that. So it is, like I said, very important that you can secure those animals, and then life is easy.
Yeah, that's great pointers. If folks want to purchase meat from Marco and Independence Ark, where would they actually do that?
They can just go independenceark.com. And just go on. I would say the best deal is bundles for those that are on the budget or storage issues, we have Rancher's Choice is very popular, pretty cheap, and it gives you a couple of nice cuts there. So it's a smaller box to get like 10 pounds or 9 pounds. I forget right now, it's on the website, or a sample or pack of 20 pounds where you get ground beef, some steaks and stuff like that. It gives you description, all of it on the website. I believe it's a pretty well done website that's easy to use and see what you get. And then, yeah, we just contact you when it's going to be on the way, and it goes from there. Like I said, we're even taking orders in the summertime, but we're not shipping in the summer. Right now, we just finished all that, so we're ready. We're ready to roll now. I mean, the orders are coming in, and it's busy. It's great, and that's how they can do it. They can also follow us on X, on Twitter. I'm out there, like I said, very active. They can message me. And if they want to send an email, independenceark@gmail.com. My wife, Alicia, does all the emails. And I'm usually, like I said, on social media, on X, doing a lot of videos and pictures and all that. So that's where it's at.
Awesome. I love that. I'll definitely make sure that all those links are in the description below. So Marco, before we end this, is there anything that you wanted to maybe talk about that we haven't yet?
No, I think we covered. I think we covered everything. I'm hoping that your listeners got something out of this interview today. If someone like me, that's as city guy as you can be, can do this, I believe. I don't want to sound like cliche, but everybody can do it. Honestly, it's not like we're talking here, me telling you to become a brain surgeon right now at the age of, 40 or whatever it is. And I'm being realistic. Everybody can do what I'm doing. And yes, you got to learn how to figure things out on the fly. Books can help to get started, but you have to be ready to adjust. You got to have a lot of patience and well-timed aggression to be ready to apply it when needed.
Awesome. Got to have the strength of Marco,
Yeah, a lot of beef, a lot of protein will do that. A lot of farm eggs.
right? And a great
Yes.
wife and a great dog.
Yes, yes, all of that comes in one of those things goes off, you might be off the rails pretty quickly here, derailed train, no doubt. So,
Right.
it's a lot of moving pieces that, people, you gotta put together, but that's why I said it is not easy. It is not easy. I'm not saying it was walk in the park to do any of this, but at the same time, it's not as complicated as it is if you stick with these points that I was talking about. They can give you major headaches.
Marco, thanks so much for joining me today. I really feel like our listeners are going to have a lot of value with what you had to share today. And I appreciate you coming by and sharing your side of things with Independence Ark Farms. And I'm looking forward to digging into some of that meat and sharing those videos with everybody as well. So thank you so much, Marco.
Sounds good. Thank you. We'll talk soon. Bye bye.